You all wanted this. You wanted to see me lose my cool. You wanted to see what it's like when I stop trying to be nice. Ask and you shall receive. Truth is, despite the fact I was dreading this video, it needed to happen. I've remained pretty positive in most of my videos, but in order to be a critic, I do have to sometimes review something I really don't want to. I mean, how can you tell what I think sucks if I only talk about things I end up on a middling or positive note with? So it's high time I actually talk about something I loathe entirely. Payday 3 is an embarrassment to not only the franchise, but gaming as a whole. But in order to examine this further, we actually need to go talk about Payday 2 so we have some frame of reference. So if you like what you see here today, consider hitting the like and subscribe button. Or don't, I mean, you do you, not your mom. Let's begin this dive with a trip down memory lane. Payday 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. It's a game I've sunk many hours into and have many fond memories of playing with friends on. If you don't know what this game is, which given you clicked on this video it's unlikely that you don't, just let me explain it anyways. Payday 2 is a game where you and 3 other players, or AI if you're lonely, go and pull off different heists of varying scale. And boy does the scale really vary! One minute you're robbing a bank, the next you're defending your safe house from the SWAT team. Then after that, you know, get some jewelry because of course, only to end up hauling goats stuffed with powdered sugar. The goats from Goat Simulator stuffed with powdered sugar. Because, you know, fuck it, why not? The game was not bound by realism in the slightest. It was either rule of cool or rule of fucking stupid. Usually swan diving into one end or the other with reckless abandon, and it's memorable for that. You can choose to be a sneaky boy, or you can go my favorite way, guns a-blazing with a lack of morality or a sense of empathy for the civilians you're giving PTSD to. Stealth admittedly was kind of two-dimensional. All heists essentially boiled down to don't let the guards see you, don't let cameras see you, bag the shit, leave. With some heists having some minor variation. But Loud is truly amazing, and it's where I think Payday 2 shines the most. You had an infinite swarm of cops that would storm in and just try to arrest you using extreme force and prejudice. You had cloakers, shields, tasers, and the big boy called the Dozer. This may seem like overkill, but it's actually quite alright because you've been given the unmatched power of the sun. Not only do you get batshit insane weapons as options, but you can level up and gain perks or skills. Skills like making armor beefier, making you resist damage while interacting with objects, being able to instantly revive someone by screaming at them. Skills were points you could freely allocate in any way you want and allowed for a very dynamic mix-up in playstyles and bolstered the perk decks in the game. Perk decks being a cool set of abilities that wildly change how you play. For a quick example, Anarchist turns most of your health into shield and changes the shield mechanic from repairing while you're not being attacked to repairing on a set interval regardless of battle status. Or the one you see me rocking right now called Stoic, where it turns most of your received damage into damage over time, and you can drink your father's favorite wacky juice to immediately get rid of all of your acquired damage. It was awesome. If you've ever played World of Warcraft by chance, think of it like Brewmaster Monk, it's quite literally the same thing. All of these systems made for an insane, carnage-filled, chaotic masterpiece that I still love dearly to this day, and so do 20k other players. The same cannot be said for Payday 3. This game is ass. But even though I have a lot of damning things to say about this game, I'm still going to try to start with positives here because I think there's enough content creators who only complain and that's it. Plus, I find it's important to give credit where it's due, so even though there's not much of that, I'm still going to do it, so let's do this. There's loads of new mechanics for both Loud and Stealth, but Stealth definitely received more. Loud's new mechanics involved overkill weapons, which have been redubbed overskills recently, special ultimate weapons that level up with use. A couple new elite units are added, and some reworks to existing ones. Shields can have their visors shot through, so you don't have to play Ring Around the Rosie anymore. Dozer's armor can be shot off until you reveal a face that can be one-tapped, making it feel a lot more like taking chunks out of a beast. There's zap traps, and there's even this drone dude. He's not a good addition at all, but he did happen, and I can at least give credit for the attempt of something new. Stealth got reworked and, dare I say, made better than Payday 2. You can now do way more before putting on your mask, being able to pick locks, get into private access areas without being immediately shot at. If you get caught in private areas, you get escorted to a public area, left with a warning, and that's it. Each guard gives you a warning. Second time getting caught like this gets you arrested unless you mask up and take him out. However, secure sectors are arrest on site, so you gotta be extra careful there. You can pick up mission equipment and grab codes in pre-mask mode, though sometimes you can be observed, and if you're caught, you're immediately exposed and must mask up. There's new types of puzzles, traps. It's clear Stealth got a lot of attention over Loud to be made just as fun, if not more fun than Loud. Also, the music's good. And that's where my positives end. Payday 3 aimed to become a more grounded experience compared to 2, being more like Payday the Heist and keeping the scale down to New York, which at the time sounded fine, but I really really should have paid attention to the grounded experience part. This game has been grounded in all the worst ways possible, to a point that I don't think the initial dev team even understood why Payday was good in the fucking first place. To demonstrate this, I will now tell you every single thing this game fucked up on a fundamental level, and I'll be comparing it to Payday II a lot. Let's go. Load times are inexcusably bad. I legit waited 5 whole ass minutes waiting for the game's shaders to load, and I have well beyond the recommended hardware it suggests on the Steam page. On top of this, loading into a fresh, empty private lobby takes a hilarious amount of time. In Payday 2, that shit was damn near instant. In Payday 3, you have to wait for the servers to connect to you, then wait for the server to open an empty lobby, then wait for the map to load up before you can even ready up for the mission. You know what? For this entire duration, for the next several minutes, I'm gonna put one of the clips of me waiting at the top left, and when it's done, I'll stop and make a sound that tells you when it's done. Something here has to be incredibly unoptimized, because with the player count being the size it is, I find it kind of hard to believe that this is requiring this much load time. Not like the loading even helps with the random stuttering, the game will just stutter and freeze up for brief moments even during solo play, for reasons I can't and don't quite understand. You can see in my footage me walking fine, then suddenly, oopsie, the server's caught a cold, best give it Mucinex and a fucking lobotomy to sort shit out. Speaking of servers, this game is always online. I'm just as confused on this decision as you are. Payday 2 had both offline and online, and your save was usable in both modes. In Payday 3, their intent was to make a live service game, but this game is hardly live at this point. Also, I don't see how you couldn't still give this game active live support while also providing the ability for me to play this game if my internet shits itself. After we as a community made a write about the offline mode, the devs mentioned they were looking into a way to make that happen. And we have heard nothing else. We got the solo mode, but it's online still. It's not offline. I can tell because I'm still loading as if I'm connecting to a server. Why the actual fuck is this even here at this point? Also, you're telling me that after being out for a year and a fucking half, you can't figure out the basic gameplay feature that was in the previous game? How? I'm sorry, is it unreasonable for me to expect them to be able to handle basic functionality? Even if the whole game is built from the ground up on an online system, changing how the data is transferred to support an offline playstyle is not that fucking hard. Get it together. The UI, while definitely improved from the launch version, trust me, still feels like a mobile game's UI in some places. Before, we didn't even have our character on the screen. It was just a background and rectangular buttons. I'm not joking, it felt like an early development menu screen. Oh, and you know what? That reminds me. While it's no longer an issue, the OG American Dream mask on launch had a fucking photo of a real-life mask as a stand-in for the menu texture. How in the 9th circle in hell did that even pass by without being noticed? We finally got CrimeNet as a mission select screen, but now it just shows all of your mission options at once, which in my opinion ruins the immersion the previous title had. Payday 2 had missions pop up with varying difficulty levels, as if people were putting up job listings for the gang to take on. This might seem a little silly, but it really added to Payday's overall feel and immersion. It made the world feel lively and active, that you were part of a larger operation. Having all these missions just laid out constantly really removes that feeling entirely. Now, let's talk content. There's hardly any, and we're almost 2 years in. Outside of the 3 heist ports and the 1 genuinely new heist, everything added was DLC that cost actual money and barely added enough to justify the price tag. The game on launch only had 8 heists. Payday 2 had 12. Now, to be fair, we got the total to be equivalent to Payday 2 with the free heists that were really just ports of previously existing heists in 2, but even then, that would mean we only have gotten 4 new heists in the span of 2 years. Which I know why that's the case, and we'll wrap around to it in a second, but let it just be known that this is likely one of the major reasons this game still pales in comparison to its predecessor. Now we have leveling. It sucks. Real bad. At launch, it was definitely far worse, being entirely reliant on you completing achievements of all things. To level up, you basically had to be a completionist and handle the tasks, which apparently could primarily be handled by sitting on the john with a buckshot in your hand in a dream. No one liked this. We made a complaint, and the response was, okay, but did you actually try it? And after that, the whole community essentially pimp-smacked the shit out of them for saying that, and they buckled, and we finally have standard leveling, which was an improvement, but somehow they fucked this up too. How much XP you get in this game is based on only 4 things. Did the mission get done? Which way you handled it? Did you get all the loot? And daily quests. That's it! Payday 2 was based on not only all of this, but general performance. Things like how many crew members were still alive at the end of the heist, securing bags, extra XP gained from perk decks and infamy, gauge packages, crime spree, which is currently still not in this fucking game. There were loads of ways to gain XP, and it feels ridiculous that these are the only 4 factors. Even worse, leveling feels slow as hell and unsatisfying. Payday 2 leveling was fast and gave you something new every level. Even if we only had the base game stuff, you at least got a skill point or points to level up your perk deck. Doing any heist and performing well had the potential to level you up at the bare minimum once. In this game, sometimes levels don't do shit. I leveled up after doing Fear and Greed, and my reward was absolutely zilch. Hell, I got nothing for 6 fucking levels! Hey, Starbreeze, hey, listen to me. Here's some fundamental game design for you. If the reward for achieving a milestone in your progression is quite literally nothing, it's not fun. The fact I even have to spell that out to you is a statement that proves that this game fundamentally fails at basic game design. I swear, a rabid primate who sniffed glue would have done a better job. Speaking of which, armor has been in a desperate need of a rework for far too long. To understand this, I have to tell you how armor works. In Payday 2, armor basically functioned like a shield in other games. It absorbed damage, and if you took cover, it'd regenerate. In Payday 3, armor is effectively just a secondary health bar. It provides protection in segments, and the segments experience trauma damage, making it only regenerate so far. The only way to truly restore the trauma damage is with armor bags or pickups, but if the segment fully depletes, it can only be restored with the bag. Not even armor pickups from taking out a big target enemy restores it. I'm sorry, am I playing Street Fighter now? Why does armor have a fighting game health bar? This system is fundamentally shit. So shit, they added an armor type that essentially functioned like a midpoint between Payday 2's and 3's armor systems, where it didn't receive trauma damage, but it also had chunks and would only regenerate the non-damaged chunk. And this armor made the game far more enjoyable for a lot of people. There's literally no reason to use the others. It's objectively the best one. But that's not the only issue with armor. The armor system doesn't work because of the fact that it made the armor bag the single most important resource in the game unless you use the new armor, and even then it's still pretty damn useful. This is because in this game there's exactly one tree that actually benefits health, and that's Fortitude, which not only gives you extra health to your, health pool, but also gives you extra buffs while you have Adrenaline, which is Overheal. However, you can't passively gain Adrenaline, you have to gain them from medkits, which means you have a limited resource of Adrenaline, and that doesn't fucking work in a horde shooter. Armor still remains to be the strongest form of defense, as it's literally the only form of defense with the most bonuses. Armor gets perks from numerous trees that makes it effectively the strongest form of defense. The entire tank tree, one in CQC Specialist, a few in Assassin. There's even one in Ammo Specialist, the one that benefits ammo bags. Granted, the perk involved ammo pickups on the ground, but you get the idea. Payday 2 made every build option feel at the very least viable and made both forms of survivability equally as strong. But in Payday 3, armor's your lifeblood, and it's more optimal to keep your armor up than do anything with your health. Now let's talk about weapons. The distinct fucking lack of them, actually. First off, we don't have melee options at all. Closest you get is Jacket's Sociopath Overskill. Secondly, these weapon options are straight up pathetic. We only got shotgun, assault rifle, submachine gun, and one LMG. Secondary is pistol, revolver, and machine pistol, and they're all in the same menu, sharing the same space instead of having a dedicated menu like they were in Payday 2. And that might sound like a reasonable thing, but let me show you a couple weapons from Payday 2 real quick. It has a crossbow, a saw that lets you open deposit boxes and locked bar doors instantly. More than one LMG in all their drum-dumping glory, the M1 Garand, a fucking RPG, and that was just things you could have all the time. Payday 2 was over the top, following either Rule of Cool or Rule of Stupid, and that's why people loved it. Payday 3 has a handful of generic guns and a bunch of non-customizable presets of said generic guns. Yeehaw! To be totally fair though, some wacky options are certainly in the overkill weapons, but the same level of power trip from the previous title is gone. 5 Seconds of Glory isn't the same as the iconic Relentless Carnage we're all familiar with. Speaking of ruining power trips, Loud, while getting some improvements as far as special units go, had the biggest nerf I've ever seen. Not only did they make Loud slower by being more about taking cover and less about batshit rampaging, but it feels like cop density was reduced. The last game had an insane quantity of cops, at the point that if you had max corpse count limit, you couldn't see the floor. You could bask in the sheer carnage you've caused by not seeing a single ounce of floor and only the bodies of all the people who stood in your way. In this game, they come in like bunches of 4 or 5 at a time, and you can take them out in like 2 seconds. This is not what I play Payday for. Where's the mayhem? Where's the bullets coming from all directions? Where's the unique per difficulty unit upgrades? In Payday 2, certain difficulty points would give you a harsher version of existing units, up to the Zeal Dozer. None of that is here. They just come with bullet sponges, and that's it. No visual flair. Essentially, they made loud boring. They made the guns blazing, full send, fighting hordes of cops option boring. How do you even accomplish that? Now let's go back to guns actually, because I forgot some issues. Guns in Payday 2 used to show proper stat values and numbers. This game, in its conquest to give me an ulcer, decided to replace readable numbers with abstract bars. Fuck off. Customizing your weapon with things like a silencer in Payday 2 was possible with an extra currency to acquire the part you were missing or by finding it in a heist reward. In Payday 3, your character has to level up that gun to remember that silencers exist. Fucking stupid. Payday 2 gave you alternative ammo types to make your gun handle certain situations better. Payday 3 doesn't have that. Bad. Admittedly, Payday 2 and 3 both have similar mask painting mechanics, but considering it was advertised that we'd get more control over our mask customization, Payday 3 still fucked this up. And listen, I get Payday 2 had a longer lifespan than 3, and it has more updates, but with the budget they had, there is zero reason that 3 had to be this shallow. Also, there's still some rather interesting bugs, like playing cook-off in solo mode, not masking you up until 30 seconds later, even though masking should have been the thing you do the moment you load in. Or, your reload animation getting stuck in the first 2 frames making the gun useless until you switch. Or, your AI partner getting stuck in the floor somehow on the first world bank. Or the AI getting frisky. Those last 3 are in the same fucking heist, by the way. Listen, let me give some credit where it's due. Project Medic Bag did fix a lot of the game's launch issues, but let's say that again. Project Medic Bag fixed a lot of the game's launch issues. And we're at the current time of the video where most of the segment was cons. Payday 3 released in a horrid state, with glaring design issues, terrible visuals, and a half-cocked UI, bugs out the ass, and a lack of features. While it has done a lot of good to have the constant updates and the game is certainly far better than it was, it still has a way to go before it can be something I even recommend. But hey, it's a good thing they're still trying to support the game, right? Right? So in typical corporate fashion, a game company has decided the best thing it can do is pretend it never happened and work on something else entirely, while still fucking selling DLC for an unfinished game. If you have not been made aware, it was recently announced that funding would be greatly reduced for Payday 3 in favor of their new D&D game under the name Project Baxter. A game that they're trying to make better than Baldur's Gate 3, not going to happen, and also a game where they claim to have a games as a service model. You know, like Payday 3. You can fuck right off with that. I'm sorry, but with how you treated your literal flagship title, I have zero reason to believe that this new D&D project no one fucking asked for would be of any quality outside of an unpolished turd. If you can't even fix a title for the game that made your company as wealthy as it is, where the game that came before that recent one still harbors 20k players a day, then why would I even believe that your next project would be a good one? Payday 3 still needs a lot of work. Even if it's more playable than it once was, the fact it can't even come remotely close to its predecessor even with a $5 sale should give you enough of an idea that you have failed. And the worst part is, we almost had hope. We actually had a shining light happen. The director of Payday 3 stepped down so Almir could come back and fix the game, and a lot of good shit was being brought back forward right after he came in. But you cut their funding right after this change. Starbreeze, I will never buy another title from you again. You are the sole reason why I stopped buying AAA titles. If I want to leave this video with anything, I want to make a call to action. Do not buy Project Baxter. Just don't. If they won't even fix their last live service game, it's just as likely they wouldn't fix this one. Vote with your wallet. It's genuinely depressing to see what this company has become. What was once a company I associated with one of my favorite looting games of all time, reduced to a shell of its former self. Hopefully the new CEO means it about moving the Payday franchise forward, otherwise I'll stick to indie games for the foreseeable future. This has been the Bottom Dweller. I need a medic bag.